Hi, I'm Liz Cully, and welcome back to Cool, Cool, Cool. Each week, I give you a glimpse into what I think is cool and chat with a ton of people that are definitely cool. No topic is off bounds unless, I guess, it's not cool. Welcome to Cool, Cool, Cool.
I sat down and we were going to do just some chit chat before the rolling. And I said, why don't we roll while I ask you all the questions? Like,
Great, go.
Tell me everything about you.
Well, I know something about,
That's enough already.
Oh, that's enough. Okay. I actually know something about you that relates to me, which is I'm July 9th and you're July 10th.
Yes.
So we're like same.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Way to turn the tables on the first question.
It's like I've done this before. I'm from San Francisco. I'm the youngest of four.
Mm-hmm.
I have gone to every kind of school on the planet, public, private, Catholic, Ivy League, art school, you name it. I love rap music.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of rappers. I have been queer for forever, but it was always shocking to people because I was like a debutante.
Mm-hmm.
So grew up a little bit in the society world, which is weird. Actually, far more edgy than people would assume. It's like they have all the good drugs if you're looking. I moved to Los Angeles many years ago because I had always acted and done comedy, and I sang for a really long time.
Okay.
And I got this huge audition. I was a very big fish in a small pond when I moved back to San Francisco from New York. And I was cast in a small movie called Moneyball as Robin Wright's younger self, because back then I did really look like her. And then they cut it. And it never happened. And then I moved down here and I auditioned for a John Wells show, which was about women in prison.
Okay.
And it didn't go anywhere because there was yet another show called Orange is the New Black.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave up on acting because they kept wanting me to become so thin and I didn't want to do it. And then I was writing and blah, blah, blah. And many years later, we're here.
I have so many questions already.
And now I'm like on the business side and it's so weird.
So many questions.
Okay, go.
One is, you said you've always been queer.
Mm-hmm.
Is queer something that just is, or is it like, do you think that queer can be in response to what's normative or what's normal? Like, now I was straight and now I'm queer, or we're just always all queer?
I think I was always queer. And I'll tell you why. That's such a great question. Really relates to the short film that you did called Alok, which we will speak about later. Apparently not now.
Apparently not now.
Apparently not now.
Because, we're just turning the tables.
You know why? It's so interesting because I always just think I wasn't comfortable with subscribing to what was norm around me.
Mm-hmm.
And in my particular world that I was raised, it was very like yacht clubs, tennis clubs, debutante balls, wealthy people marrying other wealthy people, everybody sort of going away to college, but coming back to San Francisco. I was in this space. I kind of played the part. I was blonde, whatever, kind of looked the part, had the manners, had the education, what have you. But I never felt at ease. And I never felt totally submerged or integrated rather into that set of norms around me, and was always pushing back. And I could never visualize my life kind of ending up like all the other people around me in my particular like family set or area. So if that means queer, then yes. Also, when I'm around like real heteronormative straight people, I'm like, whoa, I'm not like one of you.
I think it's interesting to so obviously and apparently fit in, but to know at your core that you don't. That even though like what you got offered, the spacesuit that you landed in, like that it fits into all the boxes that are the correct ones or the centered ones in our culture. And yet to know at your core, like, this is not it. This model, this idea, this norm or this supposed ideal is not at all who I am or what I am. That's super interesting. Versus, not maybe looking the part. Like I remember being in school and when I was younger, I'm Armenian. I was maybe a little darker than I am now. And there was always that question like, where are you from? Or what's your deal? There was something else that people couldn't put their finger on, or that both my parents, well, my father was Armenian. My mother came originally, she was from South Africa, and then she moved to England. So there was like this kind of European otherness, like where are you from, or where? So, but I just sort of always felt somewhat othered, but I wonder if it was because it was pointed out rather than I just knew intuitively all the time. So anyway.
Did you grow up in Glendale?
I did not grow up in Glendale.
I live in Glendale.
But that's a really good question. The reason you're asking is because there are many Armenians in Glendale.
Well, yes. And I live in the old historic, there's like this historic neighborhood in Glendale that I live in, which is totally all different types of people. It's actually mostly actors and people in the business. And it's lots of Disney, like animation people live there and what have you, but it's very Armenian. And so that's why I asked you.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, there are quite a lot of Armenians in Glendale.
A lot of Armenians in Glendale.
Do you ever go and have Armenian food in Glendale?
I don't as much as I would like to. I recently had a delicious dinner with a friend of mine who's Armenian in Glendale. And it took forever to get there. I mean, it just took a long time, but it was well worth it.
I would thank you for validating my 405 woes. My commute is hellish.
I don't know why you do it.
Well, because I just got this big new job and I took it.
Yeah, but can't you do the podcast closer?
Well, no. This isn't my only job.
Yeah. What's the other job?
I'm the vice president of The Hollywood Reporter. I thought you knew that.
I didn't know that.
This is like for funsies.
No, I just thought you were cool.
Oh my God. Thank you. I'm
as
dead.
As in,
thank you.
Cool. Yeah. I just thought you were cool. I just liked you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, this is, thank you. I'm blushing. I have done versions of cool for many, many, many years. Mm-hmm. But no, I have like a pretty intense day job, which is why now you looking at me strangely as to why I hung up on an Oscars call now all tracks.
Right. Yeah. When I got here, you said, I'm on an Oscars call and I had to hang up. Bye. And I thought, what could that mean?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But next time you're in Glendale, because you'll be stuck there for 100 years, give me a call.
Yeah. That's really funny because I have been so busy and doing a million things at once that the time I have to research things has really diminished. So when you asked me, I did very minimal research.
Better.
And I was like, I like this. I like her.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just like a gut yes. Mm. And then later I thought, I should check out the podcast a little bit. And I checked it out and there were all these cool people and they're all like, everyone just felt very young and cool and
all
interesting.
Different age groups.
Okay.
I just had Lori Lipton, who you probably know. Do you know Lori Lipton? Lori Lipton is one of the most prolific artists of our time.
I don't.
Can't wait for you to learn about her via Cool. Lori's coming over all the way to Glendale next week for dinner.
I'm sure I should know Lori.
Created her own curriculum at Carnegie Mellon in the early 60s for drawing. She is a literal genius icon, spent a lot of her time in Germany. She's an openly queer artist. She's literally like of our times. She's amazing. I can't really say how.
How do I not know who this
She's like a recluse. If I showed you some of her work, it's all graphite.
Okay. I can't wait.
I know. See, this is why I do love my show, because I just get to talk to cool people that I'm so interested in, like you. Well, and Alok, who I have a fun story about Alok.
Okay,
do you want to hear it?
Tell me the Alok story.
Okay, so Alex also just did an incredible short called Alok, and it's all about Alok, who's an incredible artist. I mean, activist, poet, who I have been following for quite some time. And I was at the Hollywood Farmers Market about 2 years ago on a Sunday. And I went to the Phil's Coffee, San Francisco shout out. Mm-hmm. And there's an F45, which is a fitness gym
Yes.
started by Marky Mark.
Yes.
Otherwise known. Yes. Okay. And Alok walks out. And I'm like, oh my God, Alok, I love you. I'm so excited to see you. But when you've just come out of a workout, you don't want to speak to anyone. So they were very kind, but they're like, hey, kind of off guard, like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And so then I said, do you want my coffee? And Alok said, no, thank you. And that was it. It was very awkward and strange, but
wow.
That's my
they work out at that
riveting story about Alok.
That place that they've told me about and suggested I do. And
how did you meet Alok?
I knew of Alok's work online. I'd listened to podcasts. I'd read their writing, their poetry, and I basically sent out a mass email to my friends saying, you need to know of this person if you don't already. And specifically, a friend of mine who has a trans daughter, she later got in touch with Alok and set up a lunch and then invited me to it. So I met Alok through my friend Jamie, who met Alok through me.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we started talking, and of course, my mind was blown and my heart was I just felt like it, when it's like you feel like you're intellectually so stimulated, but also you feel incredibly grounded and present in the moment. It's like a perfect confluence of experience and like using all of you. You're just fully engaged. I felt that way with Alok.
Huh.
So that kind of feels like love to me when you love someone immediately because they're speaking to the truest part of you.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt with them. And so very quickly, I just said, I feel like I need to follow you around. I need to record what it is that you're doing in the world and your performances and your life and your story. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet or where it's going to go, but maybe we should start. And they said, yeah, let's go. Great.
How long was how long did you film them for?
I filmed for about a year and a half on and off.
Oh, wow.
It was on and off because at the time I'm also a photographer and artist. I had shows in different countries and I was traveling. So when I had bits of time, I would fly and see them where they were. And sometimes I'd shoot myself. Sometimes I'd meet up with a DP and we'd shoot a little bit or interview. And then about a year and a half in, I hadn't recorded them in a while. And I met with an Armenian friend, Natalie Sharinian, who's an amazing director and producer, and told her about the project. And she told her wife, who's an amazing producer, Elizabeth Bodwin. And the two of them and my friend Megan Lennon, who's a producer, we all decided to get together and actually make this happen. So they looked at the footage. They suggested I shoot a little bit more. And in 4 weeks, I had a rough cut of a short to submit to Sundance.
And this is the first time you've ever submitted?
Yes. I've never
Sundance.
done. Yeah. I've made projects on my own, but I knew nothing about it. Not a thing. I didn't know how, when, what the deal is. I didn't know what to expect. I had no expectations. I thought it was a great idea that the producers wanted to use the Sundance deadline as my deadline, but I didn't feel like that wasn't going to translate to actually getting into Sundance. There were
Which you did?
Which I did. They were like 12,000 short films that got submitted to Sundance
Short films are very hard.
Short films, yeah. And
but
38
they're very hard.
They are. And I don't think I'll ever do one again.
Why? Because
it's just as much work to do a full length. It's like
I feel like you could potentially make Alok into a full length.
For sure. I could make Alok into 100 full lengths.
Yeah.
Because the complexity and there were so many different directions to go in with the short, but I ended up just focusing on a very specific message, which was a line that they said in one of the interviews, which was the most controversial pronoun I have is we. It's not they, it's we. And I thought, well, that's the thesis of the
I
whole
loved
thing.
that. It very much felt
good.
it was so strong and clear. It does hit you in the face right when you hear it from them.
Yeah.
You're like, got it. And it is so interesting when you start to frame things up as a collective, how that changes how you're hearing them, how you interact with the rest of the short. I also love that we get to see a little bit of Alok's family and life, and learning about how they came from a really, scholastic educational background. Their aunt, which I obviously want to know more about, who seemed like a really interesting person as well. There's just so much there.
Yeah. An amazing activist, Urvashi Vaid, amazing activist, lesbian, just so awesome. And I wish I'd been able to meet her, but I felt in some way through Alok that I did.
Sure.
And I ended up dedicating the film to her.
Yeah.
Because I felt like she was a guide in some ways to Alok, to the movement, to the message. So she was a part of it, even though I never met her.
What did you learn that you really were very shocked by about yourself while you were shooting Alok over that year and a half?
That's a big question.
Well, you asked me who I was. That was a big question.
That's a really big question. Man, I don't know the answer yet, because the process is unfolding. That sounds very vague, but it was such a big experience working with Alok, making this with Alok, meeting them, traveling with them, listening to them, being with them, that I was learning so much on the go. But as I was learning, it was integrating into me. So I felt like I was shifting as I was learning. So it wasn't just like you learn something intellectually. It's like it filters into you, and there's no way of looking at anything the same way. So when Alok talks about the boxes that we put ourselves in, or living beyond the binary, they're not just talking about gender or sexuality. It's living beyond the this or the that, living in the in-between, living in this inclusive, multifaceted world where we're able to bring back all of the parts of ourselves that we've exiled, that we've pushed aside, that we've curated out of our systems. And so in making the film, it required me as an artist to bring in parts of myself that I hadn't used before. It required me as someone who is identified as a woman to reflect on what that meant to me and the areas which I push up against, even with that definition, how much of it is performed, how much of it is something that I've said yes to, but it was basically handed to me by a society that made rules, and I just played along with them, like being given lines in a play. So it really, doing the work required that I do the work.
Sure.
So the answer in a year might be like, oh, and what I realized was this. But even when we come to a conclusion, if that conclusion is really true, it's still shifting. It's still in the midst of some kind of transformation. And that's the idea. Being trans is to just be in the midst of transformation, of shifting, of moving, there was one of Alok's friends in the short talks about, it's like nature. It's like a tree. It's like things that are moving and growing and shifting. And we don't try and make these things finite and fixed. They're always, you're talking about the garden, that you garden, and that there's no way to control a garden. No. You can have an idea of what you want it to be, and then it tells you what direction it's going to move in. Yeah. And it has to do with the sun and the light and the air and the molecules and everything else that's in concert with it. It didn't really answer your question, but
I don't know. I could just hear you talk about gardening all day. I'm like, sure, it sounds great. I find that as I get older, I have started to, like, my friend group in my queer friend group, I start to see all of the different sort of eras of queerness in relation to the entertainment industry, in relation to social media, politics, etc. I have my like gaggle of young queers that I just love deeply. And they always are, and they kind of almost think of me as like an auntie, which is crazy, especially because I was always I'm the youngest of 4 kids. My aunts and uncles who were queer, were 20, 30 years older than I was. And I was kind of banging around, stealing their cigarettes and, that sort of thing. But it is so interesting how free of the binary the younger queer generation either is themselves or that they're open to, right? Like they're really, this conversation of, gender, sexuality, even your partners, it's just so much more fluid and free. Did you how was it being, I mean, I don't know how old Alok is. I don't know how old any of us are. Honestly, we could all be the same age.
I don't know exactly how. Alok's told me, but I don't remember. But it's somewhere in their 30s.
Sure. Well, so younger than us, right? So
I don't know how old you are.
Neither do I.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just changes on the day. But how was it being around their friend group? Because you have like Dylan in the short, who's I actually met during Oscars week this past year, who rose to social media fame by, letting us all in on their transition every day. You know, what was it like being around some of the younger queer generation with Alok?
It's such a good question because the film was really informed by these people, by this younger generation where they're thinking and doing and living and troubling in a way that I wanted to in many ways, but wasn't able to. I was on my own, and for me and my generation, and people 20 years older might have been looking at me going, wow, that's amazing that they're able to do that. But for me, meeting Alok's friends and really being in conversation with them, it was so impactful because every single conversation I had was kind of mind-blowing. First of all, Alok surrounds himself with brilliant, creative, funny, incredibly stylish people. And so like each person, Dylan Mulvaney, I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah, she's great. She's great.
I love her so much. And when we were in Sundance, there were so many events, just event after event after event. And we were at one of them. We were at some party and there were 1 billion people there. And I was starving. And I looked at her and I said, I'm so hungry. And she's like, so am I. I said, maybe we can go get pizza somewhere. And we just left. And we went and sat at a bar somewhere and got some pizza. And it was one of my favorite nights of Sundance, just sitting and connecting with her. And the truth was, I didn't really even know her full story. It's like, so tell me. It was like grandma going like, tell me, what is this? Are you on the YouTube or are you on, what is it? And
what
she's
happened with you and Budweiser on the TikToks?
What was the thing that is the, I was like, tell me the story. And it was so much fun for her that I was coming from a perspective of just like responding to her. Kind of like me just responding to you. It happens a lot where maybe at this age for me, I really listen to the yes. Like I listen to myself more than I ever have. So I don't need to get someone's resume to decide whether or not I'm going to sit down and spend the afternoon talking to them. It is a totally gut thing that I'm able to follow pretty regularly. Anyway, Dylan's amazing. Channy's incredible.
Yeah, I love Channy and I met last year in San Francisco. Another funny story. And we were at this conference and I was with Kate and Leisha.
Yeah.
And Jennifer. So I was with the whole L Word crew, which we'll get to because my audience will murder me if I don't ask you about your con artist days.
Okay. Where I played a documentary filmmaker.
Okay, wait, let's just pause. Actually, because I was with Eileen Chaikin as well that night. I was with the whole L Word crew and I was...
Oh, at the Hammer?
No, it was up north. We were at this like tech conference thing.
Okay.
And I went and it was very awkward, strange. And I was sitting with Leisha and Kate, who I adore. And I was across from Chani and her partner. And we ended up we just had like the best time. But the person who runs the conference came up to me in the middle of a sit-down dinner and asked me if I had moved all the place settings around. And I didn't. But I was so, I mean, this is where my like WASP debutante comes in, where I'm like, absolutely not. And by the way, let's just say hypothetically she should have just rolled with it. But it became this whole very strange thing. And then I can't say who it was, but I did find out who it was. But I kept being like, Johnny, you must know, like, look at the sun and the moon and the stars. Like, somebody's telling you who is the culprit. And she was, anyway, I love her. She's so smart. Also a really smart businesswoman.
Oh my God, she's so smart.
Chani Nichols, if you don't have her app, you must download it. But she also pays everyone that works for her an incredible living wage for, like, she offers amazing benefits. She's really a tech entrepreneur and founder along with being an astrologer, but she's so cool and so smart. So anyway, I love those people. All right, T.O., pause. We must talk about L Word.
Okay.
Because as a queer person in San Francisco, I was literally, I kid you not, stealing the Netflix DVDs from my neighbor. I mean, I don't even know if she owes Netflix a bajillion dollars. I have the Netflix DVDs of the L Word somewhere. It was a big...
Does your neighbor know this?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Do you think your neighbor listens to the podcast?
Definitely not.
I mean, I don't know if your neighbor will be contacting you.
This is so long ago. I mean, Netflix has been my client for forever. I'm more worried about them than anybody else. But watch the show. How did you know Eileen? Was that a character that existed that you auditioned for, or was that a character that was created for you?
This is a really good question.
I'm 3 for 3 on really good questions.
Okay, yeah. So far, they're all good. The character was not created for me. I was not acting at all when I got the call asking if I would audition for the part.
Who called you? Eileen herself or her office? Or was it the network?
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember.
It's fine. It's a long time ago.
I don't remember, but I knew Eileen.
I can't imagine you wouldn't.
Yeah,
it's a small world.
I knew Eileen, and there had been an opportunity for me in the first season to audition for a role in it. There was a role in it.
What role?
Do you really want to know?
I know, Shane.
No.
Huh?
Not at all.
Really?
Oh, no.
Who?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I want to know right now.
It was the woman, I think it was the woman who was Mia Kirshner's love interest. That woman who, I don't remember, she had the long hair.
Yes.
She's like kind of gorgeous. And
wasn't it? It was like the first woman she
hooked up with while
she had. Yes. Okay. Wow. Okay.
That was, I mean, that's such an odd little tidbit of information.
It's wonderful.
And I wasn't acting at the time. I had stopped acting. I was like, oh, I don't act anymore. And yeah, I didn't do it. Yeah.
Okay. But Eileen said, no. I must have Alex.
So I don't actually even know how it got to a point where I was asked again to do this. And it was right at a time where I was just like, I was about to travel. I was working on a new body of work. And I always need a way to finance that body of work.
Sure.
Like, how am I going to do it? I've done it by designing houses and flipping them and making money. And like, how am I going to do it? And it just the timing was exactly right. And I thought, well, okay, I'll go in. Found out like that day or the next day that I got it. And I was on a plane to Canada, I think 2 days later.
Did you guys shoot that in Vancouver?
Yeah, I was in Vancouver. And I had friends who were on the show who I said, what do you think? Is it Leisha? I called Leisha. She's like, oh my God, we have so much fun. It's amazing. We have the best time. You have to do it. It's incredible. And she was right. It was maybe one of the only times I've enjoyed acting. Because it was, because like you were talking about when you were acting, it's like you have to look a certain way.
Yeah, it was too much.
At least when I was acting, it's like I'd get the thing from my agent saying, the smart but pretty girlfriend of the executive at the blah, blah, blah firm who, like it was so stupid. And I'd be sitting there with all these women. We'd all be wearing skirts and our hair would be blown out. And we tried to be looking,
I know it
smart, but sexy. but not too, it was, I couldn't do it. I was too gay. I was too odd. I was too, I just wasn't, it just bored me. I couldn't do it. I wasn't interested and I didn't do it well. So,
But you were on a bunch of shows.
I was on a lot of shows.
Weren't you on a little show called Melrose Place?
I was little bitty
I
show.
mean, you definitely did.
I did stuff.
I played a
firefighter.
I saw that in the resume.
I played a firefighter. I mean, that
and
was
a
kind of fun.
doctor.
I did play a doctor.
So it wasn't all just the girlfriend of the exec now, was it, Alex?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I got cast in shows. Like, I remember getting cast in, I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud. Should I keep going?
No. What is it? What's the show?
Nothing. It's just it was a show called Silk Stockings.
Duh. You don't think I watched Silk Stockings?
And do you know what I played on Silk Stockings?
No.
On the show where like these women, they're like, it's so sexy and it's so hot. And blah, blah, blah. I played the coroner.
I'm dead. Literally. Silk Stockings.
I played the coroner, like the woman in the suit who comes in all dour
but like
and serious.
To be like, I think they're dead. Like, I mean,
they're dead. I don't remember what I did, but I just remember thinking, yeah, that's about right. I mean, I'm never
a deep cut.
It is so.
That's like a real deep cut. I must have missed that on the IMDb.
Yeah.
So
I should, you know what? The next, like, if there's like a museum show or if there's like a really important art show, I think that should be at the top of my resume.
Silk Stockings.
Not she's shown in galleries, but no. Guest star on Silk Stockings. Alex Hedison is showing her abstract landscape photography, something like that.
100%.
Right?
Please.
I need to take myself less seriously and throw in Silk Stockings.
Oh my God, that's so good. I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's fun to be a part of such an iconic show.
It was a
con artist nonetheless.
Much fun. And Rachel Shelley, who played Helena.
Yeah, duh.
Was so,
I mean, you two were really a pair.
She is divine. She is fantastic. I adore Rachel Shelley, and we had so much fun. So, like how bad is that? I've got to go to work and hang out with Rachel Shelley and make out once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, let me tell you, I
got paid for it.
That might, and you're in Vancouver. That might get me back in the old acting routine myself. I think that's a very fun thing to be a part of.
It was really fun. And there were times where I felt a little bit, a friend of mine, when the show would come on, she'd invite all of the girls would go over and watch the L Word when it came on. And she had a pointer. She had one of those.
Like a red light pointer?
Like a red light pointer. And then where there'd be some, scene. And like, if I took my shirt off or whatever, she'd pause it and use the red light pointer and be like, everyone.
Oh my God. I love this friend.
So she's very, very funny.
I always dreamed before I moved to Los Angeles that the L Word was what it was going to be like for me. I thought I would live in this like adorable craftsman bungalow somewhere in West Hollywood. I would like go somewhere. I wouldn't really have to work that hard to get hit on. I'd have sex with all these hot, like 45 to 55-year-old women who had like a vintage Mercedes convertible.
That was the age that you were looking for?
Always.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
When you were younger?
When I met you guys at the Hammer Gala, let me tell you, I saw Jane Fonda out of the corner of my eye and I was like, I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I am in love with Jane Fonda.
No,
I would be like,
she's amazing.
You want to go home with me? I would call my wife and be like, it's Jane Fonda. And she'd be like, I get it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you can have Rihanna. I'll take Jane Fonda.
I don't blame you. Jane Fonda's amazing.
Smoke show. And also has done like so much cool stuff in the world.
Smoke show.
She is
I love
smoke show.
Smoke show.
Tell her next time you guys hang out. But I thought that was going to be my reality, you know, the L Word. And it was not. I ended up moving in with a girl who had been kicked off American Idol because she had done like methamphetamines, was in AA, best friends with Janice Dickinson. I lived off Melrose, but it was like the grimy part of Melrose. And and then I went to the Abbey and kept getting my phone stolen. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know about this place, but it all worked out. That was a long time ago.
And timing is everything. Because had it been like a year ago, you would have met Chapel Roan.
But I'm so much older.
I know.
I know. But, and also I just went to the Abbey recently. I felt very out of place.
I haven't been in eons.
You can skip it. I feel like you can let it go. I think there are other parties to be attending than the ones at the Abbey. It still smells disgusting.
Yeah.
Like that's
I was never much of a bar. I was never much of a, like, maybe I missed out. I was never.
Didn't.
No,
I think you're doing just fine.
Okay.
I think you're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting. You did live in LA during a time when the idea of a lesbian, again, both in political and entertainment practice, so to speak, has really evolved.
Yeah.
I mean, you've really had a front row seat.
What was the idea of when I was growing up, I grew up in Los Angeles. And I don't know if you know who Frank is. Phranc. Frank.
No.
Okay.
Who's that?
Frank is this amazing artist who I now know. Artist, singer. She's just awesome. Awesome lesbian. Who, when I was like 15 years old, there was something on TV called the Z Channel. It's before cable. It's before
the Z Channel.
The Z Channel. And late at night,
anyone.
It's a public access channel.
I was just going to say,
there were no TV shows on.
Crazy public access.
It's public access. So anyone could book it. Anyone could book the Z Channel. And if you're up at 1 a.m, you would just be watching someone who paid $200 to get a half an hour on TV.
Basically, YouTube before
YouTube before YouTube. And I saw in the TV guide that Frank, the Jewish American lesbian folk singer, was singing at like 3 a.m. And I'd like set my alarm and tiptoe downstairs because I didn't know of another lesbian on earth. I thought her, and I'd go and I'd watch her, and she had a crew cut. She looked like a beach boy, full crew cut, total butch, playing the guitar. And I looked and I was like, okay, it's Frank and it's me. How's this going to work? Like what, and years later, I met her and she's amazing. She and her wife are just fantastic. But it was such a big deal to like see any kind of representation.
Sure.
Which was one of the reasons I wanted to do the L Word. It's like to see any kind of representation was so important. It's still important.
It's very important.
We live in this world now. It's like, oh, we're in LA. It's not a big, go not too far north or south or east.
Yeah.
West, you'll be in the ocean. So
take me there.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't think we can go in the ocean right now.
No.
Right there. It's contaminated. But yeah, I mean, have you ever been to Kern County?
No.
You can skip it. It's in the middle of nowhere and it's like, I went there one time and my wife who has, who's definitely more left of masculine center. Is that what you're supposed to say? I'm a little tired. I could use a little snack.
She's left of masculine center.
I could use a little sugar. I feel the blood sugar dropping. Mask of center. Some Gen Z will, I'm sure, rake me over the coals for this, but we went into a straight up biker bar in Kern County on one of our first dates. Of course, we went to a lesbian wedding together weeks within meeting each other.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit, we're going to get like beat up or something. I mean, I was worried. And I'm usually good. I'm a survivor. I can hang. One by one, these bikers, she has a very similar haircut to you. One by one, these guys, that's a great haircut. And I'm like, thinking, and they just couldn't have been better. But it's a very conservative area, and it's an hour and a half away. It's not far.
Does that mean I'm left of butch center if we have the same haircut?
You are.
I don't know what it means exactly, but I'm kind of liking it.
I think it is it.
Is that like I hear things now like
do you wear
mask?
Yeah.
Or I'm like, oh, there's all these different.
Like I feel like I guess I didn't see you there. Like, did you wear a dress to the Oscars? Did you wear a dress?
I did. Well, actually,
Not that you can't be butch of left center and left of the butch center.
Well, no, I really like wearing.
I really
like wearing a suit. Generally,
yeah, it's hot.
I could never wear a dress again and be fine. However, there was this dress that I wore to something. It may have been the Oscars or one of the parties around it, and it was like this It was like a nightgown. It was like literally like a long negligee that was so beautiful. It had lace all down it and it was amazing. And my friend Mariam, who's a stylist, she found it. And then I wore a tuxedo jacket over it.
That's hot.
So it's pretty hot.
Problem with me is
I felt hot in it, except I never took the jacket off or I would have just looked like I should go to bed.
Which maybe those are long days. People don't realize how long those days
It was
are.
really long, but really fun.
That is fun.
I didn't expect it to be as much fun as it was.
The Oscars?
Yeah, it was really fun.
But the Oscars themselves or the after parties?
The Oscar themselves, like there were many of them in one night. The Oscars.
There kind of are, but yes.
The Oscar, we're going to make Oscars they, them.
They, them.
They, them, the Oscars were really, really fun.
This past year?
Yes.
It was fun. I was all the way up. It wasn't actually the worst seat I've ever had. It was the second to worst seat I've ever had. I'm up with all the execs in the kind of top row, but I had so much fun this
What about
past
Ryan
time.
Gosling?
Ryan Gosling was great.
I was sitting like 4 seats from him. So I was sitting right there as he was sitting there with his
nominee
hat.
section,
I was
which
in
is
that's
more
right.
fun. The nominee section is a little bit more fun than the exec section because I have to be completely committal or excited for anyone because everyone's around me. Every exec from every studio is sitting with me and they're all like my children. I have to be excited for everyone. So I am excited for no one.
Right.
You know?
Well,
but it was fun. I actually had a really good time and I thought it was funny this past year and I loved my dress. I wore a really cool dress too.
You did?
I did. I always wear vintage. So I wore a really cool brocade vintage and all these people and I wore these like fur shoes and people were stopping me and I had fun and I did crazy glitter makeup.
Nice. I did glitter makeup too.
Well, call me next time. We can
Brett
FaceTime.
Freeman did a little glitter thing. He's amazing.
He is amazing.
Do you know Brett?
He's
do. Fantastic.
I love hair makeup at all. Just, honestly, if I were a very, very wealthy person, I would get my hair and makeup done every day to do nothing. Like full glam, like Kardashians glam.
Wow.
I know.
You and I are very, very, very different.
I would get it.
I would never do it. I did not look in the mirror until I sat down in this chair and then looked. I was like, oh, what is that crazy gray thing happening on her screen?
Also, you've got that like great, you've got great skin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You don't need much. What's your favorite part about being an artist? Since you've gone, now we've got film, painting, we've got photography, obviously. I'm sure there are more that I'm not aware of.
For me, being an artist is it's just the way I think and exist in the world. And then what I make from the way I perceive things. So my favorite part of that is probably the conversations that come from the making. So if I do a series of photographs and then I'm in a position where I'm talking about it with someone or they see something and they're moved by it and they're not quite sure what it is because it's abstract, but they are responding to it. And then we have a conversation that is deeper than if we were just talking about something literal.
Sure.
There's so much that's not said. There's so much that's not seen, things that are right in front of us. So I feel like my mission in life is to talk about the things that are underneath, to connect in a way that is true. And for me, that's what being an artist is naming the thing that's right in front of us that most people don't see or consider consciously.
It's hard to follow up
with
that.
Let's see what
that's
else.
written. No, that's beautiful. I mean, that's true. I think it also is it can be a very disarming tool to get deeper with someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Aligning on something that's moving or beautiful or like physical, but it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Can really get people to talk about things that they might not.
And also just being an artist, I think is, or at least for me, I'm really aware of beauty. I'm aware of beauty when I look at a shadow or the sky or a pattern on the floor or the way a leaf is turning itself to face the light. I'm aware of those things all of the time, often more than the things that most people pay attention to. Like, what is that person's title? Or what are the specifics of the conversation? I'm distracted by like the way a leaf is moving.
I'm that way too after mushrooms. Literally. But it's actually my favorite part.
Okay, can I just tell you? It is like being on mushrooms. How much do you remember?
And I'm like,
how much do you remember after mushrooms? Probably not that much. You're like, I don't know. I just like kept sitting in the chair and I couldn't believe how soft the arms were.
I mean, that's ecstasy. I think it's more visual. I mean, that
is ecstasy.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Wow. You know your drugs.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Allegedly. Yeah, I do. Seeing vivid color and really, I actually love after allegedly taking mushrooms because there's still that whisper of things feeling very in focus, which is really lovely. Whether and it is typically vibrant color.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Maybe it is like I'm always on mushrooms.
That's amazing. I honestly wish, that would be great.
Which brings me to the downside of being an artist.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least what being an artist means to me, which is sometimes it can be kind of lonely for me, and maybe even lonely for others experiencing me because I don't remember things the way that other people remember them. I don't connect in the same way that most people do on a regular basis. Like the way I approach things is not, it's not typical. There are very few people where when we talk, I realize like, oh my God, we're approaching this the same way. That all those things that are supposed to be important, those are not important to me. Those two things over there that are so fleeting and beautiful, that's the gold.
So is it frustrating that you feel like no one else is seeing what you're seeing or kind of latching on to what you're latching onto?
It's not frustrating. It's more, sometimes I get frustrated with myself because I'll switch into a mode of just being a human and thinking, right, I should be more upwardly mobile, or I should be doing something that's maybe more productive, or I'll become judgmental over the pursuit of the art itself. I'll think I should be doing something that's more linear. I will look at people who have a history of education where they got this degree, then that one, and now they're in that position, which brought them to that, like where there's some sort of trajectory that feels like it was intentional. And so much of my life has been by following my instinct in the moment rather than mapping it out and saying, this is in 5 years where I want to be. I've never been able to answer that question.
Girl, same. Like literally same. You're like, who are you? What's your life? I'm like, nothing makes any sense, particularly with me. More people are like, who is that? I mean, the first episode of this show that I did almost 2 years ago, I asked a bunch of people to go on audio record and say what they would say behind my back if somebody said, who the fuck is Liz Cully? Because I hear that all the time. Who is she? Why is she here? Who did she come from? Where? And it's all just, I think it actually is all a trajectory. It is, one thing had to happen to get to the next thing. And it doesn't have to be this formulaic, like, I went to this school. And because I went to all those schools. I told you in the beginning. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You also could have been so focused on doing something linear and what everybody told you to do that you missed all this other stuff over here that was actually going to circumvent and bring you here. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Did you go to Harvard?
No, my sister did.
I didn't think you went to Harvard. Do you know why?
Why? Because I said something wrong?
No, because people who went to Harvard always say they went to Harvard.
Oh my God.
They always bring it up.
Alex, I swear, I literally just had this conversation.
It's like the only Ivy League school where Harvard gets thrown into a conversation.
My sister did go to Harvard.
Completely. Though. And does she mention it willy-nilly, or does she have a grasp on herself?
Her The father of her children also went to Harvard. He talks about it a lot. I'm dying because I just did this very strange conference where I interviewed this young, kind of famous Instagrammer, TikToker, and I saw this woman who I've known, and she is absolutely in her late 50s and still uses her Harvard email address. But I always make fun of her, and I'm always like, when are they going to take that away from me? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, this is insane. Like, you literally have not gone to school there in 30 years. Like, did they have email 30 years ago? Like, I don't even remember. I mean, it is so funny that you said that. They always talk about it.
It's so funny.
Or you know what they always say? I went to Harvard. Oh, and Harvard Business School. At Harvard Business. No one gives a fuck that you went to Harvard Business School.
But it's never even
that is so funny.
It's not during a conversation when one is talking about education.
No, it's
just comes randomly like, should we get Chinese tonight or Italian? I don't know. It's funny. When I was at Harvard, there was this little Italian. What? Wait,
you know what though?
How did we?
You know what? How did we start dropping?
I'm talking about pizza.
You know what I'm going to start dropping is City College of San Francisco. Well, when I took 2 years of interior design at San Francisco City College and then moved.
I already dropped mine. Silk stockings.
Silk stockings. Honestly, my brain is exploding. Is there one iconic show that you weren't on that you wish you had been on when you were acting? I mean, you were on Melrose Place and Silk Stockings and The L Word, so it's going to be hard.
The only show I can think of is Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, that would be a great show to be on, but you'd be yourself.
Yeah, but I would be doing something with Larry David.
It'd be cool if it was like at your art show and he like completely
I went up to Larry David. I saw him in a parking lot, and I went up years and years ago when it was on, and just said, "Oh my God, I love your show so much. Love it. Love what you're doing. Love it." I said, I've only watched a couple episodes this season. I haven't seen the whole thing. He said, "Why not? I haven't seen, I don't understand." And like he immediately just went into, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, I know. Well, you were walking right into it.
I walked right into it.
I will say the last season was the best for me. It was peak television. I am so happy that you came here.
I don't want to stop. That's the wind up. I want to keep going.
Well, you can come back anytime.
I'm having so much fun.
Are you?
I am.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy.
I'm having so much fun, and I want to hang out. I'm saying it officially on the podcast.
Well, and we know where we're going to hang out. I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but we're
love a certain
place. Oh, we're not? Okay, we can go somewhere else.
I thought you were talking about the Abbey.
Oh.
Because
no,
I think you said to me, "Let it go."
Yeah, no, I said you can skip it.
You can skip it. We're skipping it.
You can skip it.
Now
no, we have another place to go to.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Right. I know.
I've had so much fun too. Really,
so
truly.
much fun.
Okay, good.
I wish I dressed up more. You look so nice.
You're so kind. It's because I literally had to go to work. They have to think I'm professional. They don't know yet. I'm just kidding.